Do you notice that about those moments of change? That radical honesty? Whether it's a job you're at that just isn't working at all for you, whether it's a relationship that's upside down and feels incredibly disconnected, even with yourself, or whether it's how much you see that you hide and don't shine your light in the world. We have these beautiful moments and opportunities to become acutely aware of that honesty, that disconnect, and inevitably faced with the question, well, what are you going to do about it? And I don't know so much where I'm going to go with this. It seems like there's 10,000 different things to talk about. But here's what I see as profoundly beautiful, the thing I keep coming back to. And it speaks to the nature of the spiritual inquiry. And let me preface it by saying something that I think is deeply insightful, which is that there are two aspects of being human. And I say this for the sake of simplicity. But there is our inner life and our outer life. And just like the breath is what we might call a single thing, it is made up of two parts, the in-breath and the out-breath. You can't have a breath without them both. And just like for the human being, there is what we call an internal discovery and a manifestation of that discovery in human form. And it's interesting too, because so often as human beings, we get stuck on either side. We can get stuck on the inhale, which is swimming around in spirituality and not actually engaging in our physical lives in ways that would be more representative of our sincerity. Or we can get stuck on the out breath, where we are so busy and preoccupied with going somewhere that we don't ever take a time to get still and investigate what's actually going on inside of you. And so I see that there's a beautiful melting together where the in-breath of the spiritual inquiry, you really get to see some profound shit about the nature of life and what you are. But the conclusion of this spiritual discovery, it could be said 1,000 different ways, but in some version is that all is well, you're completely whole, you're not missing anything, only love is real, and there's nothing real to fear. That's beautiful. And as a matter of pointing, it points to something profoundly true about the nature of what's real. And then in the human form, we look around and it appears that all is not well. It appears that no, there is not only love that exists, and it appears that there are 10,000 things to be afraid of. And so beautifully, in one way, to me, it's just so obvious that the physical landscape is a playground for the spiritual discovery to express itself. And in one way, this has been happening the whole time, whether we realize it or not. Like if you look at anything in your physical landscape, your human experience on the surface that shows itself as profoundly valuable and meaningful, the things you enjoy most about being human, how much of those things came about because of a willingness to be more honest, a willingness to move through your fear, a willingness to trust what felt sincere and true, a willingness to be open. And in doing so, which is like saying a decision to engage life with a deeper understanding, You opened up all of these gifts that you didn't know were there. And the physical landscape became more beautiful. Do you see this? It's like you brought the deeper truth of reality, the spiritual discovery, into the world, into the physical. And you see, that can't happen without the playground of the physical. Just like the out-breath cannot happen unless there's an in-breath. They go together. And the more I live this life, the more I end up embracing the raw reality of being human, right? Not just resting on a cloud of cute spiritual language, but looking at the reality of my life and saying, let's go. Let's show up. Let's do something extraordinary in the context of my own human journey, not necessarily compared to somebody else, and not necessarily what the world thinks is extraordinary, but extraordinary in the context of realizing how much I limit myself because of a misunderstanding, and go on a great adventure moving through that misunderstanding, that fear, and releasing that light through my humanness. Is that not what the playground is for? And you know what's also interesting is that this is so impossible to say for other people. You can really only see it in your own direct experience. Because naturally, of course, and this is so common, there's always, somebody in the crowd that says, yeah, but what about these people over here? What about people in this situation? That's not your experience. This whole discovery is for you, applied to your experience. And this is one of the masterful tricks of avoidance, is trying to figure it out for somebody else's life so that you don't have to look at your own. Because it's also hard. Just like what you've experienced so far in the expansion or in the growth you've been through, there's a very genuine truth that there's difficulty involved. And I would say that's on purpose. That's part of it. And I've said this a lot of times, but I'm just going to say it again. When something is difficult and you fundamentally think it's not supposed to be difficult, you turn away from it. You don't even walk down the road, which means you don't grow through it. But when you see that it's an intentional and on-purpose challenge, that, yeah, this is difficult, but I signed up for this, it becomes something else entirely. You turn towards it, which is interesting because as you turn towards it, it's like you are proclaiming that within you is the strength to move through it. Even if you doubt, even if you're scared, the fact that you turn towards it means that something in you knows on the inside there is a courage, there is a strength. This speaks so much to being ready for change. And maybe it's just the world we live in nowadays with our instant gratification and the sales and marketing that says it's going to make it easy. We want it to be easy. And so we wait and wait and wait until it's going to be easy. And if you look at your past experiences of doing this, but you ultimately did change, you kind of owned up to the truth that, oh, this isn't going to be easy. And you did the hard thing. Do you see that pattern? It seems like it's just constantly there, but we forget it. We get kind of lured back into our adorable complacency.